Okay, so now it's time for part number 2 of comparing the adaptive cruise control between the Tesla Model Y 2024, which we're sitting in right now, and the Citroen eC4 and the Kia E-niro. So we're going to drive the same route and just compare, let's say, the adaptive cruise control and talk about how it is with the Tesla. We're actually going to do a little more with the Tesla because the Tesla adaptive cruise control has some more features that the other cars doesn't have, but they're not really applicable, let's say, in a highway scenario, but I will show them at least. So and in the Tesla there is two modes of the adaptive cruise control. The first mode I think is called traffic aware cruise control. So that's kind of the equivalent to adaptive cruise control in the Citroen eC4 and the E-niro, with the limitation that it doesn't have here you see the beeping starts. I've set the beeping notifications to in what they call Joe mode, which means that the sounds are a little bit lower because they're so disturbing. So back to, we will today drive it in the traffic aware cruise control, which isn't the autopilot mode, but it is very much like the adaptive cruise control in the Citroen eC4 and the Kia E-niro. But because I think the autopilot does more, or I might be wrong, but still there are these two modes. Yes. Yeah, so now we're coming up to the start of the test. So it's a bit of larger road, not highway, but highway conditions, where we will start. So in part 1, when we looked at the Citroen, I talked about the interior quality. So now we see here that it says max 70 kilometers per hour, and now it will know that now it's 100. So now I will activate the adaptive cruise control by pulling down on the right lever one time. Then the 100 max turns blue because it sets the speed to the highest speed you can go in my current settings. So now it doesn't auto steer, but I've set it up so that it corrects for, let's say, when I go out into the white line. So if I go out towards the white line, it corrects the steering, right? So this is a little bit like, let's say, the Citroen and the E-niro, because it corrects, and that's more or less what the Citroen does as well. It doesn't steer the Citroen, but it holds you between the lines. In this mode, you're not between the lines, but it auto corrects from and here the speed lowered. So this is the first, let's say, negative part of the Tesla, I would say. It's that, you know, there's no easy way to lower the speed. The only way to lower the speed is by scrolling down on this right button on the steering wheel. But yeah, compared to the Citroen, it's a bit more jerky. So now I'm behind a truck, and yeah, here you see I wasn't on the white line. I will actually turn on the cameras here so that you can see. It warns, and this is one thing that I really don't like with the adaptive cruise control with the Tesla. It warns you going out to the lines a little bit too early. So here you can see in the right camera here below that you can see how far I am from the white line, and it warns me a little bit too early. And in Sweden, where some of the roads are quite narrow, this is very disturbing. That it warns me every time I get close to the white line. I think you can turn this off, but I want it, but I don't want it to be as sensitive as it is right now. And I've actually, but yeah, so this is one of the pet peeves with the Tesla adaptive cruise control, is that it warns you way too early. And compared to the Citroen eC4 and the Kia E-niro, this gives me the feeling that it's not as good. Perhaps it is that it is safer, but if it disturbs me more while I'm driving, and if I feel, you know, if I get the feeling that it's unnecessarily disturbing me, then, you know, from a personal perspective, it's not as good. The Citroen, it didn't bother me one bit, you know, going on this road, not one time. Even though I was probably close to the lines at some point, it didn't bother me. If I had crossed the lines in the Citroen, then, you know, I would have gotten a warning. So now you see, now it was a temporary reduction in speed. We went down to 65, I think, but it warns me, but it doesn't, I'm not able to change the speed. In the manual you can read that if I hold my finger on the speed icon for a certain while, it should change the adaptive cruise control speed. It doesn't work, I think, when they have activated this EU legislative speed warning thing, where the speed warning is active when you start driving all the time. Yeah, so you know, as an adaptive cruise control, keeping the distance, it works. It's quite close. I have it on level 7, which is the furthest distance from the car, but it's quite close to the truck in front of me. We're only going 80, so I guess it's fine. But it's quite close. The Citroen, it kept more distance to the car in front, which I personally like. But here I'm doing all the steering by myself. On the way back I will activate the other mode, but I will also drive the other mode a bit further in another part and talk a bit about it. But it works fine. It warns me more than the Citroen, and you will see later than the Kia E-niro. But works fine. But it is this nagging with me getting close to the lines, which, you know, the other cars doesn't do. They warn me if I get over the line, but it doesn't warn me before. I don't know if it's better or worse, but if the roads are very narrow, then, you know, you will get warned quite a lot in the Tesla. Perhaps I can illustrate that in another video going on another road. So we will see what it does here in the corner. I will actually not steer as much in the corner, and let it try to correct me in the corner. So now I'm going straight ahead. I didn't dare, but yeah, it corrected me. So it corrected me and kept me. It actually steered quite a lot there and corrected me to go forward. It didn't warn me, which is interesting, right? There, when I went straight ahead towards the white line, it should have warned me. But me getting close to the white line, you know, not even over it, but close, there I don't feel it should warn me. But perhaps it's safer. But as a personal opinion, I don't feel that it is as comfortable as the Citroen's adaptive cruise control. But let's turn around here and activate the autopilot. I will turn off the video. So now let's turn on the autopilot. Then I press down on the right lever twice. Now the autopilot is engaged and it says to keep my hands on the steering wheel. And this is much in the same way than as a Citroen. What's different with this solution is that if I look to the right now, I'm going to keep my eyes on the road, but I'm going to look with my head to the right. It's going to, I think, warn me in a bit. Perhaps. Or it sees my eyes. But this is, when I drove it the first time, I got a lot of warnings that I wasn't looking at the road. Perhaps I wasn't. And here it applies slight. Here you saw that it swerved to the left quite quickly, and when the two lanes merged. This is something that, you know, on every merge where two lines merge, it swerves to the left quite quickly and quite heavily, which, you know, let's say that it would have been slippery on the road. That would not be a good maneuver to do if the road is slippery. But, you know, it's keeping me between the lanes. It's not better than the Citroen eC4 in keeping me between the lanes. The swerve, I would say, is, you know, quite rapid, which, if it were slippery, that would be dangerous. But as you see, it works quite, you know, I'm not saying this is bad. It works quite well, but it's not better than the Citroen. It has one feature which the Citroen and the Kia doesn't have, and I will try to show it perhaps now. Let's see if no. One thing with this is when you're in autopilot and you change lanes, the autopilot will disengage. This is probably because they want you to buy the upgraded autopilot package. So I have to turn here, so we will see. So now it disengaged, and that's fine, because I needed to slow down as well. But we're going to engage it now on the 70 road and see. And I'm actually going to navigate, because I'm picking up some sushi. Nav. So let's go to Poppy's Thai Sushi. So now I've engaged the autopilot again. Yeah. But as you see, it's working fine, but it's not better than the Citroen. For the reason that you saw the swerve, so that's one thing. But then this time I didn't get it. But a lot of times, and I will try to capture it on film, it warns me quite a lot in situations where I don't feel it should warn me. So I don't know if it sees lines on the road which aren't these lines, and it thinks, you know, I'm outside the road. And the issue is that then it gives me a warning. I don't know the rules, but if I get 5 warnings during a ride, then it deactivates the autopilot for that complete ride. If for some reason I get the warning, you know, on some consecutive rides, then it will deactivate the autopilot for me for 7 days. And there are times I know that I made mistakes, so I'm fine with that. And see, now going down to 50, I have to scroll to take it down to 50. It doesn't read the sign and change the speed automatically, which would have been nice. And this is more or less what the Citroen does. The Citroen, in the heads-up display, it prompts me, do you want to change to the correct speed? And then I press OK on the steering wheel, and then it changes the speed. And that, for me, that's quite automatic. You know, it's not fully automatic, but it's quite. Cruise control unavailable. Okay. Now it's unavailable. But I'm turning here. Yeah. Then it disengaged. Yeah, so why did we get the Tesla? I knew that, you know, there were probably, and now you see I'm on 50, it's 70. In the manual it says I should be able to do like this. It doesn't work. Oh, yeah, and there it tried to steer me off the road. This doesn't work if I do it like that. Right. So then, if I want to get to 70, I have to scroll up on the steering wheel to 70. This is something that they could have just... There's probably some stupid EU legislation which says you have to set the speed yourself, or that Tesla would be liable or something, but that works great in the Citroen, that it sees that it's 70, you press OK, it changes to 70, right? So you could probably use some button on the side or something for that specific, you know, prompt, or being able to assign it to one of these buttons. Yeah, so 800 kilometers on the Tesla. Why did we get it? We got it because we have a dog, and we wanted an electric car because we have had 3 electric cars previously, and there's no going back for us. It's not an environmental thing. It's just that, you know, electric cars are better. So now we're going to engage the autopilot again. Let's go up to 100. Otherwise I have to, you know, change the speed manually. so now autopilot is engaged again. I'm keeping my hands on the wheel. I'm in chill mode, even though it accelerated up to 100 quite quickly. That's okay. So let's see now what happens when we drive this. So I want to show you the feature that is really nice, and I think we're going to see it when we get off the road. So I'm actually going to navigate to my home address, because I don't know if it's actually based on the navigation. Yeah, like that. But yeah, so the issues that I think, you know, yeah, here you see it's swerved to the left because there were two lanes merging, and it swerved quite quickly to the left and close to the barrier in the middle of the road. And I don't like that behavior at all. And then you have this where if I have autopilot engaged and it's a tight road and I'm meeting other traffic, it will brake quite heavily, which is also really scary. And the Citroen on the Kia E-niro, we drive it on the same roads, it have never done that. And perhaps it's safer, right? But you know, there is safer, and there is, you know, not knowing what you're doing. And when the Tesla brakes like that on a tight road, I really feel that it doesn't know what it's doing, and then I lose confidence in it, which is a pity, I think, because I really like the Tesla. Yeah. And as you saw, I have it in the maximum distance to the car in front, and this is quite close. This is quite close for, you know, when I took the driving test, you know, you should keep 1 or 2 of these poles sticking out of the ground between the car in front, and there is it kind of kept 1, not 1. But now we'll see the feature that the other ones doesn't have, which might be helpful. I don't know. I haven't used it as much to see it helpful, but because it either it knows that I'm going to turn now, or here you see it swerved to the left and said it was a car coming, and you know, being Tesla, it might see the car coming, but this swerving to the left when two lines merges, I don't like it at all, because it's not how I would drive, and the Kia and the Citroen, it doesn't do it. So now we're going to turn right here, and it's becoming 70 as well. And I don't know if we will see it now because we have cars in front, but if we didn't have cars in front, the Tesla would slow down, probably because it knows I'm going to turn. So now it disengages the autopilot. Here you see, it brakes for me. It brakes for me so that I can take this off ramp. This is really nice in the Tesla. It's quite fast, but this is really nice in the Tesla. Here it brakes. Why did it brake? Why did it brake? I wasn't even close to the car. There was a lot of space between the car and the lines. Why did it brake? Why did the Tesla brake? No other car brakes in that situation. And yeah, it might be safer. Better safe than sorry, right? But you know, that kind of behavior, it makes me not trust the system, because that's not how I would have behaved in that situation. And I'm having the 12.0 release of the Tesla software, so this is one of these things that are quite good with the Tesla. Of course, it might get better. It might get better, which means that, you know, some of these things that are pet peeves for me, they might solve it. But right now, these small things, you know, it braking when there's no reason at all to brake, and quite heavily also braking, and the swerving to the left when two lanes merge, and also it warns me all the time about stuff that doesn't make sense. These are the things that, for me personally, makes the Citroen adaptive cruise control a better solution currently. The Tesla might get there, but right now it isn't, in, you know, for me. But then there are these things, you know, as it's slowed down on the off-ramp, which is really nice. I don't really see the use right now, but that's kind of hinting for a future where, you know, it solves those things itself. Yeah. Yeah, so let's see. I might do a longer trip on the Tesla to get some more points in. But next I will drive the Kia E-niro and see how that adaptive cruise control is. Yeah, okay, thank you.